My boyfriend was secretly dating my best friend, while using my paychecks to buy her gifts and laughing at me behind my back. I don't even know how to start this, because my whole world feels like a joke right now. I, 26F, thought I had a loving boyfriend, 28M, and a loyal best friend, 27F. Instead, I've spent the last few weeks uncovering betrayal so twisted that I still can't wrap my head around it. The relationship. I met my boyfriend 3 years ago at work. He was charming, attentive, and at first, I thought I had finally found someone safe. I was never the kind of girl who asked for expensive dates or flashy gifts. I was happy with movie nights, pizza, and long walks. He always called me his best friend, said I was the only person who understood him, and swore up and down he wanted a future with me. The only weird thing was money. Every time I got paid, he would guilt me into helping out. He told me his mom was very sick and needed medicine that wasn't covered by insurance. I felt bad, who wouldn't want to help? So I would give him a chunk of my paycheck. Sometimes $100, sometimes $200, sometimes more if I had a bigger check. He'd kiss my forehead and say, "You're the best. I'll pay you back when things get better." The best friend. My best friend, let's call her Emily, had been in my life for over a decade. We grew up together, shared secrets, laughed until our stomachs hurt, and always promised to never betray each other. When I introduced her to my boyfriend, I thought it was sweet how they got along. She'd joke with him, he'd call her like a sister, and I thought I was lucky to have two people who cared about me. But looking back, I see it now, the too long eye contact, the way their conversations carried on after I left the room, the way she suddenly started dressing up whenever she knew he'd be around. The first red flag. One night, my boyfriend forgot his phone at my apartment. It buzzed while he was in the shower, and I noticed Emily's name pop up. The message preview said, "Can't wait to see you tomorrow, Red Heart." My heart dropped, but then I gaslit myself. Maybe she meant me. Maybe it was some inside joke. I didn't open it. I didn't want to seem crazy. I wish I had trusted my gut right then. The truth comes out. 2 weeks ago, one of my coworkers casually mentioned seeing my boyfriend at the mall. He wasn't alone. He was with Emily. They were holding hands. At first, I told myself maybe they just ran into each other. But then she said, no, they were definitely on a date. He was buying her a necklace at Pandora. A necklace? With what money? The money I thought was going to his mother's medicine. My chest felt like it was caving in. The confrontation. That night, I waited until he came over. I asked him straight up, "Were you at the mall with Emily?" His face went pale. Then he laughed. He said, "You're overreacting. She needed help picking out a gift for her mom." But the next day, I checked Emily's Instagram story. There she was, smiling in the mirror, wearing that exact necklace. The caption, "When someone knows exactly what you like, face blowing a kiss." I confronted Emily too. She denied it at first, then flipped it on me, "You're just jealous. You never treated him right anyway." That was the moment I realized, they were in it together. The knife in the back. The part that still makes me sick. I found out through another friend that my boyfriend used to brag about me behind my back. He told Emily that I was pathetic for handing him money every paycheck. That I was so dumb I believed all his excuses. That it was hilarious how I thought I was supporting his mom, when really, I was paying for their dates, their gifts, their little secret romance. They laughed at me. Together. Where I am now. I kicked him out of my life immediately. Blocked his number, deleted his pictures, unfollowed him everywhere. Same with Emily. The worst part is how stupid I feel. How could I have missed the signs? How could I have trusted them both so blindly? I worked overtime shifts, skipped things I wanted for myself, just so he could buy her presents and play the perfect boyfriend to my best friend. My heart is shattered. Not because I lost him, but because I lost her too. I lost the two people I thought were closest to me. What I've learned. 1. If someone keeps asking you for money, question it. 2. If your gut tells you something's off, listen. 3. Loyalty and love aren't about words, they're about actions. I don't know if I'll ever fully recover from this. But I do know one thing, I'll never let anyone make me feel that small and stupid again. The silence, that didn't last. For the first week after I blocked them, there was radio silence. I thought maybe they were too busy enjoying each other to care. Part of me was relieved. I wanted nothing to do with them. But silence never lasts with people like that. The apologies start. Emily was the first to break. She emailed me a long, rambling apology. Except, it wasn't really an apology, it was a self-pity letter. I didn't mean to hurt you, but I couldn't help how I felt. You were always so busy with work, and he was just there for me. We didn't plan for this to happen, it just did. And of course, the kicker, one day I hope you'll forgive me, because our friendship means everything to me. My hand shook as I read it. Friendship? She was sleeping with my boyfriend while wearing jewelry bought with my money. That's not friendship. That's treason. I didn't reply. Then he came crawling. A few days later, my ex showed up outside my apartment. I only knew because my neighbor texted me, "Hey, there's a guy pounding on your door. Should I call the cops?" It was him. He stayed there for over an hour, yelling things like, "It was just a mistake. She didn't mean anything compared to you. We can fix this." The audacity nearly made me laugh. He spent months taking my money, calling me pathetic behind my back, and now he wanted me to believe I was his real love? I didn't open the door. I didn't even acknowledge him. Eventually, security asked him to leave. The twisted turn. When begging didn't work, they switched tactics. Suddenly, mutual acquaintances started messaging me, saying things like, "Emily feels really bad, she just wants closure. Your ex is depressed, he's saying you're the only one who really knew him. Don't you think you're being a little harsh?" Turns out, they were telling people I was cold-hearted and overdramatic. That I overreacted to something that just happened naturally. They even claimed I always held money over his head. The same money he pretended went to his mom's medicine, but really bought her gifts. My breaking point. Last weekend, I bumped into them. Not together. Separately. First, I saw Emily at the grocery store. She smiled like nothing happened, like we were still friends. She even reached out for a hug. I froze her with a look and walked past. Then, later that same day, I saw him outside the gym. He tried again, "We should talk." "I miss you." Something inside me snapped. I told him, loud enough for people to hear. "You used me, you humiliated me, and you laughed at me while I paid for your dates with her. Don't you ever come near me again." He just stood there, stunned. For once, he had no comeback. Where I stand now. I blocked them on every possible platform. I warned my friends that if they bring those two up, I'm walking away. I'm done being their victim, their punchline, or their safety net. Do I still hurt? Yes. Every day. Betrayal doesn't vanish overnight. But I'm starting to see it less as a loss and more as a purge. They were poison in my life, and now they're gone. And here's the best part. I finally used my paycheck on myself. I bought new furniture for my apartment, got a spa day, and signed up for a weekend trip with coworkers. For the first time in years, my hard work went toward me, not someone else's lies. My takeaway. If someone betrays you this deeply, they don't deserve a second chance. They don't deserve even one more text. Closure isn't something they can give you, closure is choosing yourself. After everything blew up, I thought I was finally free from the betrayal that had been rotting my life from the inside. But healing isn't linear, it's messy, unpredictable, and sometimes even cruel. I kept thinking that once I exposed my ex-boyfriend and my ex-best friend for who they really were, I'd move on quickly. But the reality? Their betrayal left scars deeper than I realized. At first, I tried to convince myself I was fine. I threw myself into work, telling myself I was stronger than the situation. But every time payday came around, I felt a bitter sting. I used to hand over money, naively thinking it went toward his mother's medicine. Now, I knew the truth, that it had funded perfume bottles, handbags, fancy dinners, and God knows what else for the girl I once trusted like a sister. Every time I checked my bank account, it felt like their laughter echoed in my ears. And the worst part? They didn't even hide. I'd see them together around town. At first, they tried to act sneaky, but eventually, they were just flaunting it. Walking hand in hand. Sitting in the cafe where he used to wait for me after work. She even wore the bracelet I had once admired in a shop window, the same bracelet I couldn't afford because I thought I was helping his sick mom. It felt like they were spitting in my face. One night, after an especially long shift, I broke down. I sat on my kitchen floor and sobbed until my chest hurt. I wasn't just mourning the loss of a relationship or a friend. I was mourning the version of myself that trusted so blindly, that believed so fully in people who didn't deserve it. But pain has a way of hardening you, shaping you. After that night, I decided I was done being the victim of their story. I started therapy. I told my therapist everything, the lies, the money, the humiliation. She didn't just listen, she gave me tools. For the first time in months, I didn't feel crazy. I wasn't weak. I had been manipulated. Gaslit. Used. That realization lit a fire in me. At the same time, I noticed how many people quietly reached out to me once they saw the truth. Friends I hadn't spoken to in years messaged me. I always thought something was off about them. Coworkers told me they admired how I handled myself, that they would have exploded in public if it had happened to them. Slowly, I realized that while I had lost 2 toxic people, I had gained clarity about who really valued me. The turning point came when I bumped into his actual mom. She was shopping in the pharmacy where I was picking up a prescription. My heart nearly stopped, but she smiled kindly at me, as if nothing had happened. Out of sheer impulse, I asked, "How are you feeling these days? Are your medications helping?" She looked at me, completely puzzled. "What medications?" she asked. I froze. She told me she was perfectly healthy, had no prescriptions, no treatments, nothing. And that's when the last puzzle piece clicked into place. He had never needed money for his mother. It was a complete lie. Every paycheck I shared, every dollar I sacrificed, every excuse he made, it was all fabricated to keep me funding their little romance. I left that pharmacy shaking with anger, but strangely relieved too. The truth was out. I wasn't stupid. I wasn't overreacting. I had been deliberately, maliciously deceived. And that's when my healing shifted gears. I started journaling every day. I wrote down not just the hurt, but also the lessons. I promised myself I would never again let anyone make me feel like I was less. I would never again apologize for expecting honesty, loyalty, and respect. Meanwhile, karma started to show up, slowly, but surely. My ex and my ex-best friend? They didn't last long. Within months, people started whispering about their endless fights. She found out he was using her too, borrowing money under different excuses. He didn't suddenly become loyal because he swapped girls. And she? She was so desperate to prove she was better than me that she tolerated it longer than she should have. But eventually, it crumbled. I didn't even have to lift a finger. And me? I rose. I rebuilt myself piece by piece. I saved my money, traveled a little, bought things for myself without guilt. For the first time in years, I felt like I was living for me and not for someone else's manipulative games. The pain still lingers sometimes, betrayal cuts deep, but I've turned it into strength. I don't regret walking away. I regret not doing it sooner. Because here's the truth, you don't lose when you walk away from liars. They lose you. And that's exactly what happened. The breaking point and my final decision. After everything that happened, the betrayal, the confrontation, the lies, it would have been so easy to just walk away. To block them both, burn their memory, and never look back. But life is never that neat. Reality has a cruel way of lingering, especially when betrayal comes from the two people you once trusted most. For weeks after I exposed them, I lived in a kind of haze. My mind replayed every detail, every suspicious look, every excuse, every half-smile they thought I didn't notice. I replayed nights when I thought my boyfriend was being kind and helpful by taking care of his mom, when in reality he was probably at some restaurant with her, laughing, spending money I worked for. But the real knife in my chest was my best friend. She was supposed to be my person. The one who would protect me, defend me, and tell me the truth even when it hurt. And instead, she had been taking my life behind my back. And she didn't even feel guilty. That was the part one couldn't swallow. When I cut them off, she had the audacity to text me, "You're overreacting. We didn't mean to hurt you, it just happened. You can't control who you love." I remember staring at that message, my hands trembling with rage. I can't control who I love. Was this some kind of excuse for stabbing your best friend in the back? I didn't reply. Instead, I deleted her number. But deleting doesn't erase the memories. The small town whispers. We all lived in the same town, and of course, people talk. Suddenly, I was the crazy girl who overreacted because her boyfriend and her best friend fell in love. They painted themselves as star-crossed lovers who never meant for it to happen. Somehow, I became the villain of their story. People I thought were neutral friends started giving me side glances. A few even hinted that maybe I should just move on and let them be happy. It crushed me. Because it wasn't about them being happy. It was about the betrayal, the lies, and the months of manipulation. He had stolen money from me under the pretense of helping his sick mom. She had pretended to be my sister, sitting in my apartment, laughing with me, while sneaking behind my back. That wasn't love. That was cruelty. The letters they sent. About a month later, I started receiving letters in the mail. From him. He wrote that he missed me, that he never stopped caring about me, that what he had with her was just a mistake. He claimed he was confused, that she seduced him, that he was weak. One line in particular made my stomach churn. "I only dated her because she reminded me of you." I nearly tore the letter apart in disgust. What kind of twisted logic was that? As if I should take comfort in knowing he betrayed me with my carbon copy. I threw every letter into a shoebox. I couldn't bring myself to shred them right away. Part of me wanted to keep them as proof, like evidence of how low he had sunk. The night I snapped. It all came to a breaking point one evening when I saw them together, by accident. I was walking home from work, and I passed a little cafe I used to love. There they were, sitting by the window, her hand in his, their faces glowing with laughter. They looked like a perfect couple, like nothing was wrong in the world. And that was when something inside me snapped. For weeks I had been crying, hurting, isolating myself, wondering what I had done wrong to deserve this. And here they were, thriving off my pain, acting like they won some kind of prize. That night, I went home, grabbed the shoebox of letters, and burned them in a metal trash can outside. I stood there, watching the paper curl and turn to ash, watching his handwriting dissolve into smoke. It felt like a funeral. Not just for him, not just for her, but for the person I used to be, the naive, trusting girl who believed people at face value. Building my new life. After that, I made a decision: I would not let them define me. I would not let betrayal be the last chapter of my story. I threw myself into work. I started saying yes to new opportunities. I met new friends who didn't know my past, who didn't look at me with pity or judgment. For the first time in months, I felt free. And slowly, I began to rebuild. It wasn't easy. Nights were the hardest, lying awake, my brain replaying conversations, wondering if I had missed red flags. But each morning, I woke up with a little more strength. One day, I realized I had gone a whole week without thinking about them. Then a month. Then two. The last straw. Almost a year later, I got a message request from her. My former best friend. It read, "Hey, I know you probably hate me, but I wanted you to know he cheated on me too. You were right about him. I should have listened. Can we talk?" I stared at that message for a long time. The irony was suffocating. She had taken him from me, defended him, laughed at me, and now she wanted sympathy because he did the same thing to her. I didn't reply. I blocked her instead. Because by then, I had learned something important: closure doesn't come from the people who hurt you. It comes from deciding you deserve better and walking away. The final word. It's been 2 years since then. I don't know where they are, what they're doing, or if they're still together. And I don't care. I'm living a life I built myself, with people I can trust, and with dreams that don't involve sacrificing my heart for someone else's games. If there's one thing I learned, it's this: betrayal doesn't break you, it shows you who you really are. And I'm stronger now than I ever thought I could be.